Rowan Voss woke up in a cage. Not in a hospital bed. Not in a battlefield. Not in the ruins of some forgotten city. In a cage, with a stomach full of fruit and a brain full of memories that did not belong to a bear. That was the first strange thing. The second strange thing was worse. He knew the world was going to break soon. Not maybe. Not someday. Soon. A global spiritual surge was coming. Monsters would mutate. Ordinary animals would turn violent. Humans would panic. Cities would burn. And the ones who survived would not be the strongest. They would be the ones who adapted first. Rowan knew that because he had already lived through the beginning once before. In another life, he had been a beast hunter. Not a man who fought beasts. A man who hunted them. A king-level predator with blood on his hands and storms in his chest. Now he was a bear. A massive black bear with thick fur, heavy paws, and a lazy reputation at a private zoo near the edge of the city. The zookeepers called him harmless. The visitors called him adorable. Because every morning, he let them believe exactly what they wanted to believe. He rolled onto his back when children laughed. He sat near the fence when snacks were offered. He acted sleepy, slow, lazy, and completely uninterested in the world. That was his disguise. And it was perfect. No one suspected the truth. The bear lying there like a mountain of fur was counting the days until the surge. And the only reason he had not escaped was because of one human. Mira Vale. She was his keeper. The one person who never treated him like a monster. Never treated him like a machine. She brought his food herself when she could. She spoke to him like he could understand every word. And sometimes, when she thought no one was watching, she scratched behind his ears with a kind of softness that made even a beast go still. Rowan had lived long enough to know the difference between kindness and weakness. She was just gentle. And that made her dangerous in a different way. A human like that could become the center of a beast's entire world. So Rowan stayed. He let her feed him by hand. He let her laugh when he nudged her sleeve. He even let her believe he was the laziest bear alive. Because in a world about to drown in chaos, a hidden beast had one advantage above all others. Nobody fears what they think is harmless. Every day followed the same pattern. Morning. Mira arrives. Breakfast. Visitors. Sleep. Repeat. Rowan enjoyed the routine because routine was safety. And safety was rare. Yet while everyone else saw a zoo animal, Rowan saw something else. He saw cracks. Tiny changes in the air. Birds that paused too long before flying. Dogs outside the zoo barking at empty corners. Stray cats with eyes too sharp, too alert. Even the wind felt wrong sometimes, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The surge was getting closer. Rowan could feel it in his bones. One afternoon, while Mira stood beside his enclosure, he heard two workers talking near the service path.
Did you hear about the wolf incidents outside River District? Wild animals are acting weird everywhere. Probably a disease.
Rowan slowly lifted his head. Wolf incidents. That word touched something buried deep in his memory. Not a memory of this life. An older memory. A beast with silver eyes and a mouth full of blood. Nightfang. The name had not yet entered the city. But Rowan already knew what it meant. A predator had started moving. And once a creature like that began hunting, it never stopped at one victim.
What is it, big guy? You sensing something?
Rowan stared at her. If he could speak, he would have told her to leave the city now. He would have told her to take her family, pack a bag, and run before the world split open. But he could not speak. Not yet. Instead, he pressed his head softly against the bars. Mira laughed and reached up to pat his fur.
You always act like you understand me.
Rowan closed his eyes. He did understand. That was the problem. That night, the zoo went quiet. Too quiet. Rowan woke first. His ears twitched. Something was wrong. A smell drifted through the air. Sharp. Metallic. Like wet iron after rain. His nose caught another scent. Blood. Then another. Wet fur. Wild rage. Rowan rose from the straw, every muscle in his body tightening. Outside, the lights flickered once. Then again. A scream split the dark. Rowan turned toward the far end of the zoo and heard frantic shouting from the security office.
Lock the gates. Something's in the service road. Get the staff inside.
Another scream followed. Closer this time. Then came a sound that made every animal in the zoo go still. A howl. Low. Heavy. Wrong. Not a normal wolf. Something larger. Something changed. Rowan moved to the edge of his enclosure and stared into the darkness beyond the bars. A figure emerged from the shadows between the cages. A wolf the size of a horse stepped into the light. Its eyes glowed with pale silver fire. Its body was swollen with unnatural muscle, and black veins spread under its fur like roots of poison. The zoo animals backed away in terror. The mutated wolf sniffed the air. Its gaze locked on the nearest human figure. Mira. She was only a few yards away. Frozen beside the walkway, her flashlight shaking in her hand. The wolf lunged. Rowan did not think. The lazy bear disappeared. In one violent motion, he slammed his shoulder into the enclosure gate. Metal shrieked. The latch bent. The second strike tore it open. Rowan erupted into the night like a living avalanche. The wolf turned at the sound. Too late. Rowan hit it head-on. Claws flashed. Teeth snapped. The two monsters crashed across the pavement, shattering a bench and throwing sparks from the broken fence lights. Mira stumbled backward.
No!
Rowan heard her voice like a distant bell. And then something inside him answered. A deep mechanical tone sounded in his skull.
Storm Sovereign System activated.
Rowan's eyes widened. Lines of lightning blue light spread across his vision. A second voice, colder and calmer, echoed in his mind.
Emergency combat mode available.
Now the world made sense. The system had finally awakened. The wolf snapped its jaws toward Rowan's throat, but Rowan twisted aside and drove one massive paw into its ribs. Crack! The mutated creature skidded across the ground, howling. Rowan felt power surging through his limbs. Not wild. Not uncontrolled. Precise. Like a storm finally obeying a master. Lightning crawled across his claws. The air cracked. Mira stared at him with wide eyes, unable to understand what she was seeing. A bear should not move like this. A bear should not fight like this. A bear should not glow with thunder. But Rowan no longer cared what a bear should be. The wolf charged again. Rowan lowered his head. Then he struck. The impact shook the entire courtyard. Electric light burst from Rowan's claws and tore across the wolf's body. The mutated beast convulsed, slammed into the fence, and dropped to the ground with smoke rising from its fur. But Rowan did not relax. Because the wolf was only the first. Far beyond the zoo walls, more howls answered from the dark. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Rowan's gaze shifted toward the city lights in the distance. The real disaster had just begun. He looked back at Mira. She was still staring at him, shaken and pale, as if she had just watched the world split open. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then the wolf on the ground twitched. Rowan stepped forward, ready to finish it. But the system spoke again.
Warning.
Imminent. That meant days. Maybe hours. Rowan slowly turned his head. The zoo's floodlights came back on one by one, revealing broken fences, terrified animals, and staff members calling for emergency support. This was the moment his life changed. Before tonight, he had been a bear pretending to be lazy. After tonight, there would be no hiding.
What, are you?
Rowan met her eyes. He wanted to answer. He really did. But all he could give her was the truth in the only form he had left. He stood between her and the darkness. Then he roared. The sound rolled across the entire zoo, deep and violent, like thunder trapped inside a mountain. Every creature fell silent. Even the wolves outside the walls hesitated. Mira's breath caught. And in that exact second, she understood one thing. The bear she had been feeding by hand was never ordinary. He had been waiting for something. And now that something had arrived. Outside the zoo, the night was getting worse. Sirens began to rise in the distance. Then came another howl. And another. The sound did not come from one direction. It came from everywhere. Rowan's ears snapped toward the city. Something had already started moving through the streets. Not just one beast. A wave. A tide. The first fractures of the surge were spreading. Mira stepped closer, though every instinct in her body should have told her to run.
Rowan.
Hearing his name and her voice hit harder than the wolf's teeth had. She looked at him with fear. But beneath the fear was something else. Trust.
Did you protect me?
Rowan stood still. The answer was obvious. She swallowed hard.
You're not just a bear.
No. He wasn't. He was something older. Something stronger. Something the world had forgotten how to name. The wolf at Rowan's feet tried to rise again. Rowan's claws sparked once more. This time, he ended it. One clean strike. Thunder tore through the creature's skull, and the beast dropped lifeless into the broken pavement. Mira flinched, but she did not look away. That mattered. That meant she was still here. Still watching. Still breathing. Still alive. And for Rowan, that changed everything. Because now he had someone to protect. And in a world about to descend into chaos, that was either a blessing or the most dangerous weakness of all. End of part 1. The floodlights continued to flicker. Staff members ran in confusion. Animals screamed from every side of the zoo. And beyond the walls, the city was beginning to wake up to something it did not yet understand. The surge was coming. The mutated wolves had started moving. And Nightfawn had not even revealed itself yet. Rowan looked toward the city one last time. If he wanted to protect Mira, survive the coming storm, and uncover why he had been reborn like this, he would have to stop pretending to be a lazy zoo bear. He would have to become the beast the world had forgotten how to fear. To be continued.